Are you ready? 5 dancers, 3 continents, a sweep from North America, South Africa and India. Welcome to Boxed 6.0, where we are visited with artists from Cape Town, California, San Francisco, New York City, Bangalore, and my hometown, Namma Chennai. Across styles, you will see today's edition bookended by 2 Bharatanatyam dancers, but using their techniques in very different ways. And in between, you will also watch urban groove hip-hop, a contemporary artist who was once a Cirque du Soleil performer, and a Kathak artist, all of them negotiating this global pandemic and what it means to be in quarantine and lockdown. You know, with all the amazing feedback that we have received for this series Boxed, I got a phone call from a friend, and very earnestly she suggested, why don't you get a sponsor, and that way you can pay your artists. I smiled because she didn't know, and so do so many others, unaware of the fact that from the word go, from the ideation to the planning, to the assembly of the backstage technical team, then the selection of the dancers, the communication process, the entire experience was thoroughly professional. Boxed has been budgeted and financed, and everybody has been paid through the line, including composers. And I remember the stunned silence of my friend on the other side of the phone, but also the surprise of composers and dancers when we said, we're going to pay you. And this surprise is, in a sense, a little sad. It's disappointing because we are surrounded by so much live arts, many of it in the Indian dance category, I think mediocre, substandard, but most of it is given away free. And that is why we wanted Boxed to be in this pandemic-ridden lockdown world for an attention-challenged audience. A 2-minute adventure that dancers would feel respected, taken care of, acknowledged, and with our editing team to raise the level. So Boxed, I hope, has delivered all that it promised to be. Classy, inventive, innovative, clever, elegant. Let's get back to our edition. Sarevshan in Cape Town is negotiating what it means in his immediate surroundings and the space that he has chosen. Nikhil is looking at his semi-outdoor space, looking at his ghungroos and wondering, is it a noose or a lifeline? Urban, hip-hop, groove, Vishwesh chooses a familiar surface, but dances to a beautiful Thumri. After having lived out of a suitcase for 10 years, Pandeya knows what it is to have that ephemeral quality of dance disappear as she encounters and confronts the basement of her memories. And finally, Sonali Skandan steps out of her home into her backyard in Brooklyn, New York City, and adds on now what has become the essential aharya for every citizen, dancer and otherwise. Today's edition will have expert comments by Malaysian icon Ramli Ibrahim. Welcome, Ramli, to the Boxed team. And now, here is Boxed 6.0.
First thing I thought of when I heard boxed was something to hit, because I'm a percussionist. So I immediately went to a percussion-based track that doesn't follow melody or harmony as most popular music does.
So the biggest challenge that I faced was negotiating space and navigating it. As Bharatanatyam dancers, we are used to dancing in small spaces on a horizontal plane, but this time I was restricted this way as well. So for me, that really restricted my movement vocabulary, and I had to come up with something that had some sort of texture, something unpredictable. That was something I was trying to achieve, especially through these last 2 months. That is kind of been the theme, unpredictability or entropy or dissonance, however you want to think about it. So that for me was what I was trying to achieve through the use of space. And I think looking beyond the vocabulary that I'm comfortable with, which is Bharatanatyam, got me one step closer to reaching that goal.
The very idea of boxed, personally for me, was very intriguing in the concept of why we choose a particular space to perform. And that space is very different from the usual spaces that we used to dancing in, whether it is in your class, whether it is when you're training with your teacher, or on stage. And every space has a beautiful energy that you develop with. And this particular space allowed me to be vulnerable and experiment. And also this is like the only opening that I get at home. So for me, this space was very important because it is that space of thinking, the space of wanting to know what is next, questioning so many parameters that come into mind when you're in that space. So this piece was about a check on these constants of where I am, where will I be, what will I be able to do. And that's how this whole space, piece and my dance comes together for this unique idea of boxed.
Dancing in a confined space has been a really creative experience for me. The style of dance that I practice, known as urban breaking, is a style which consists of explosive moves being danced at a fast pace in an unbounded region majorly. So I went on to do the contrary, take a slow melodious song and adapt this style to bring about a rhythmic flow in my movement. The dining space that I used here as my stage has helped me a lot to get the idea of how I can control myself in such a small area. Being a person who has danced majorly in an unbounded and free space, this was a challenging yet a fascinating experience for me.
Catherine Pandeya. I'm a half Indian and half German American artist. I received foundational classical Indian training from Catherine Kuniraman and Antonia Manacola, and I studied for a brief period with Rani Khanam. However, the majority of my training comes from a classical Central Asian Persian dance form. The mudra, or as we call harikat, is the vocabulary I use to express this piece, and I chose the location of the basement because it's the place where we take the things that we want to be unseen and we put them away, which I think is a reflection on this time in the world where the weaknesses in society are coming out and showing how we're connected in both beautiful but also terrifying ways. The images that came to my mind were tangible objects, emotions, and projects that I hadn't sifted or dealt with in years, and also learning to navigate new realities and paradigms with greater creativity.
Hi, my name is Sonali Skandan. The work that I've created for Boxed is an abstract understanding of social distancing. We walk the streets literally at 2 arms distance from each other. We wear masks stealthily, our eyes darting to and fro, looking at each other, wondering, are we all safe? Yet, deep down inside, we yearn for that connection, for a touch on our cheek, for an embrace, for the sun on our face. I've used abstract movement ideas to suggest this. I hope you enjoyed today's work.
Hi, I have enjoyed very much the creative inputs of all the 5 solo dancers, choreographers, Sarevshan, Nikhil Parmar, Vishwesh, Pandeya and Sonali Skandan. They have put a lot of efforts and thoughts and demonstrated confidence in exploring the intent of the box video clip. Sharing with us a glimpse of their creativity, they've reaffirmed how Indian dances have transcended their national boundaries and have evolved and connected on the global dance platform. We see this phenomenon from the dancers from various parts of the globe, from Cape Town to Bangalore to Chennai to California and New York. The dancers have a shared dance vocabularies, but they have also different points of embarkations to explore the relevance of these movements to express new contemporary choreographies and ideas, which have transcended borders. The chosen artists have charged their spaces, limited as they may be due to lockdown, but with fresh possibilities. It is also clear that the individual statement and message has to be big enough to engage and stir the imagination of the audiences. I remember the late Glenn Tetley, who had been an important factor in my own choreographic forays, who said that if you want to be intellectual in your message, dance and movement might not be the best media for this. Dance eventually is metaphor and communicates best through the power of suggestion. How the actor-dancer uses effectively the space, music, available props and surroundings, his or her strategies and devices, from choreography to acting to facial expression, and eventually the actual dance execution, no matter how abstract the movements are used, eventually collude to present the message with this power of suggestion. Though I also appreciate that the participants are open to choose the dance vocabulary and choreography, I'm always delighted when the dancers, for a change, reveal novel contemporary ideas when using traditional forms of Bharatanatyam, Kathak, Odissi, or folk forms to redefine what is modernity from the Asian or indigenous perspective. However, having said this, when viewing the clips, I'm constantly reminded that I'm not looking at a live dance theatre performance on stage where what you see is what you get. But on the other hand, we have a design video clip to be viewed online after perhaps several takes in digital editing put together on the small screen of a computer or mobile phone. I've always felt that we are looking at the final product of the video clip. The artistic direction and editing plays a vital role in communicating the artistic style, flavor, and final work. It is no longer just from a choreographic perspective and input. In viewing the pieces, I'm aware of the choice of the camera angle, the layering of images, perhaps through several takes, and of the input of the invisible editor, all of which contribute to play an important role in the final boxed images of the dance video. So in some of the works, we experience the savvy manner and expertise in the way the artist has chosen the design and employed digitally the direction and editing of the video clip to give us that total dramatic box experience in the small screen. So in Sarevshan, we experience the ease with which the dancer negotiates the Bharatanatyam gestural movement in the confined space of the kitchen, augmented by catchy rhythmic accompaniment and great editing, resulting in a compelling crossover of East-West aesthetics. Kathak dancer Nikhil Parmar, with minimalist movement of Kathak, uses the ghungroos and the laden gazes to sow the seed of aloneness and ambiguity, alluding to the mysterious relationship yet to unfold. Once again, the savvy editing was able to project several layers of perspectives to augment the dramatic situation. Vishwesh from Chennai explores something out of his usual fast-driven forte and succeeds in creating an absorbing lyrical interpretation of the Thumri, giving us a fresh glimpse of the angst of love from a black and white world, physically supple configuration of his body, and even upside-down perspective. Pandeya cannot help but project elegant and exquisite lines even when contorting in confined space. The use of the overhead camera angle was effective in giving us a cluttered storeroom garage imagery, a veritable Pandora box of the subconscious. And there is something pure and clean in Sonali's interpretation, which is refreshing, coming from the suburb of New York City, known for its postmodern minimalist abstractions. The simple, clean, no-nonsense, totally frontal perspective with other chance activities outside clearly visible, with and without masks, strips the lockdown situation to its barest yearning and manages to say it all. I congratulate all of the dancers who have given us sincere, well-crafted and thought-provoking insights reflecting their struggles with the COVID lockdown.
Thank you so much, Ramli, for your comments. Viewers, I have to tell you this. Over 40 years ago, I was in Kuala Lumpur, sitting in an auditorium, and the soundtrack began. It was a recorded track, and I heard a familiar voice, and that was my guru, Adiyar Lakshman. And it was the familiar Todaya Mangalam. Jaya Janaki Ramana, Jaya Vibhishana Charana, and the sounds, a golden form burst onto the stage. That was Ramli Ibrahim. Over the years, my Guru Bhai has done his country Malaysia so proud and has burnished his chosen forms of Bharatanatyam and Odissi. So thank you once again, Ramli, for the friendship and your art. The story of Boxed, dear audience, is not just the stories of dancers who have dared and adventured for 2 minutes. It's also the story of their backstage support staff, spouses, siblings, significant others, children, grumbling parents, woken out of their slumber in an afternoon nap or early in the morning to catch the light. You saw Sarevshan share the screen with his composer brother. You also would have noticed that Sonali Skandan was dancing to the music created by her percussionist husband, Bala Skandan, who's used New York City beatboxing with the Cajon. So I want to thank all of you behind the scenes who have helped these artists dare and dream and adventure and continue to take risks. Thank you all for watching. Next weekend, we have a very special weekend edition of Boxed and Beyond. Many new films created by dancers, both for art and also to make a political statement. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching.